So to do kiruv, you have to learn Torah. One doesn't go without the other.
He sent me a video yesterday of a cousin, he said, the more Yirat Shamayim you have, the more people will listen to your Torah and accept it.
Okay, that's Chazal. That's Chazal. The biggest thing, the biggest, most important thing for someone that's a Mezakeh Rabim, someone that teaches the public, someone that wants people to listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth, has to come from Yirat Shamayim. Without Yirat Shamayim, there's no chance for anyone to listen to you. And this is actually one of the biggest problems of this current generation. And this is pure siyata d'ishmaya that you asked me this because I was trying to figure out how to connect it to this lecture. You asked me this question, so I answered it. Now, most people think that the problem with teaching only began in this generation. It's a mistake. Rabbi Israel Misalant, who lived in almost 200 years ago, started the MUSSAR movement. And even though he didn't write a book, he wrote many letters. And his students kept those letters, and one of his main disciples, Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, put them all together. And it's an amazing book. Unfortunately, it's out of publication, which kind of shows you how that this mistake is continuing. It's called Or Israel. I had to buy the second hand because they don't sell it in the market. And this book, Bezrat Hashem, maybe the next series after we finish Pirkei Avot.
Okay.
So in essence, when someone is telling you, don't fear Hashem, he's telling you, don't believe in Hashem. That's what he's telling you. Because Chazal here is telling you that without fearing Hashem, there's no connection.
It's a one-pronged club.
The Rambam in Mishneh Torah, Yesodei Torah, chapter 1, says the following. He says that there are two verses in the Torah that seem to contradict each other. The first one indicates that the heavenly fear brings a person to performance of mitzvot, as it says in Sefer Dvarim, Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12 and 13. It says, now, O Israel, what does Hashem your God ask of you? Only to fear Hashem your God, to observe the commandments of Hashem and His decrees. So here we learn, Hashem said, what does Hashem want from us? He wants us to fear Him, which Rambam says, after that it says to serve His commandments. So in essence, fearing Hashem leads us to doing His commandments. But on the other hand, the second verse teaches us that we are only commanded to perform the mitzvot in order to fear Hashem. It's also written in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 24. Hashem commanded us to perform all of these decrees to fear Hashem your God. So the Rambam explains so how do we explain this contradiction? On one hand he's telling us fear Him so you do the mitzvot. On the other hand he's telling them do the mitzvot so you can fear Him. It seems like there's two opposites. Which one comes first? So he says the following. He says the resolution to this contradiction lies in the fact that there are three different tiers of fear. The first one is the beginning, which precedes the observance of the mitzvot. This is the fear of the king, which prevents a person from transgressing his directives. This is yirat ha'onesh. This is fear of punishment. Outright saying you're not going to do anything until you're afraid of punishment. We'll explain in more detail in a second. It is concerning this level of fear that we read in Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa says anyone who fears of sin takes precedence over his wisdom. Anyone whose fear of sin takes precedence over his wisdom will endure. The second tier of the end is that this is true fear. This is yirat aromemut, fear of His majesty, of His divine majesty, meaning that a man cannot attain this level until he first performs all of the mitzvot. After reaching this stage, a person then shifts to the virtue of love, for a person can only love the Almighty after first coming to fear Him. Explanation in simple English is this. Rambam and Rabbi Israel Misalant and and his disciple, is telling us the following. To say that you're going to love Hashem by skipping Yirat Hashem is impossible. Because as soon as you want to love something, first you have to identify what it is. What it is. You can't say, I love her, and you don't know who her is. You can't say, I love him, but you've never met him, saw him, heard of him, or even anything. You have to know what you're dealing with. There has to be a connection. In order to have a genuine connection with Hashem Yitbarach, obviously, you have to identify him as the creator. Otherwise, it's not Hashem. If it's a friend, it's not Hashem. If it's a brother, it's not Hashem. If it's a king of kings, it's Hashem. Once you understand that he's the king of kings, the creator of all creations, the first and the last, there wasn't anything before him, there will never be anything after him, that he controls everything, that there's no outcome in the world that's without him pressing the trigger, that there's no leaf that ever gets the ability to fall off a tree without Hashem saying, allowed. You're allowed to fall off a tree. There's no permission for your eye to blink unless Hashem says, allowed. Allowed to blink. As soon as you understand the significance of this King of Kings, of course you're going to fear him. He's responsible for everything. Unless you're crazy. And if you're crazy, you're not really looking to fear Hashem. So you're not part of this conversation. But thank you for watching. He gave us more views on YouTube. So the point here is that as soon as you understand who you're dealing with, of course you're going to fear him, because Chas v'Shalom, he's going to punish you. The human creation was created in such a way that we only act most of our actions out of fear. You go to work not because you want to make money. You go to work because you don't want to be poor. People are more afraid of being poor than aspiring to be rich. Proof? Why do people that are making $10 an hour still go to work? They know that tomorrow is going to be the same thing. They're also going to make $10 an hour. They're not going to suddenly make $100 an hour. They're not going to suddenly invent the next Facebook. They're still going to make $10 an hour tomorrow. Why do they go to work? Because they don't want to be broke. They don't want to be homeless. They don't want to starve. They go to work because they fear poverty. Why do people have a partner? Because they fear loneliness. Why do people eat? Because they don't want to starve to death. Why do people get educated? Because they don't want to be called stupid and be the guy that's cleaning bathrooms at the age of 60 years old making $10 an hour. They want to be the guy that's paying him $10 an hour but owns the building. We operate out of fear. Everything. So anyone that tells you don't be afraid doesn't want to be human. He wants to be something else. So, the same thing goes with connecting to Hashem Yitbarach. It has to start with identifying what you're dealing with. As soon as you identify what you're dealing with is Hashem Yitbarach, it's the creator of all creations, of course you're going to fear him. But your aspiration, your goal, should be to get higher. Not to only fear punishment, but to get to a higher level. Like the relationship between a man and a wife when it's a healthy relationship. What is the relationship between a man and his wife in a healthy relationship? They fear hurting each other. They don't fear punishment from the other side. The wife is not fearing a husband slapping her, and the husband is not fearing his wife stabbing him. As long as it's again, a healthy relationship. What do they fear? They fear that they will offend each other. They fear that they will hurt each other. They fear that they won't talk to each other, or possibly love each other any less. That's what a healthy relationship fears. That is a healthy fear. That's the fear you want to aspire to. Once you get to that level of fear with Hashem, where you are afraid of hurting the relationship you have with Hashem, you're afraid of Him stepping one step away from you, because every sin puts a block between you and Him. Every time you make a sin, puts a block between you and Him. Every time you make a mitzvah, you push it away. Every time you fix a midah, you push it away. In Shmona Prakim, the Rambam Shmona Prakim, he says, what was the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophet of prophets, and all the other prophets? Why does it say that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to Hashem face to face, but all the other prophets, they spoke to Hashem through a trance, through meditation, through sleeping, dreams, and so on? What was the difference? Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rambam says, purified his midot to such an extent that the only thing that was separating him and Hashem was like a blurry glass. Whereas all the other prophets didn't purify themselves to that extent, and it was thicker. Same thing with us. We want to get there, we want to get to a real good relationship with Hashem Yitbarach, fear punishment. Eventually graduate to a point of fearing hurting the relationship. Once you fear hurting the relationship, then Rabbi Yisrael Misalant is telling you, then you're going to start loving Him. That is the beginning of loving Hashem. Meaning the highest level of fear is the beginning of love. But you can't get this love by skipping fear. Because loving Hashem without fearing Him is impossible. It's not me saying it. This is everywhere. Sifrei Tzadikim, MUSSAR, Gemara, anywhere. So how do you explain so much teaching today of all these people with long payas telling you, love Hashem, love Hashem. Yeah, He loves you, He's your brother, He's your father, He's your sister, He's your everything. And it, everything, it makes Hashem Elochem sound like a Care Bear. Oh, He loves you, you're wonderful. Yeah, but Mechal Shabbat. Yeah, but He loves you. Yeah, He loves you, but He's going to punish you if you don't do tshuva. You know that, right? It says it in the books. What is this? Where is this coming from? I don't know. That I don't know. What I do know, I know business. I ran a multi-million-dollar firm for 16 years. I know a little bit about business. And I know that being nice, telling people what they want to hear, telling people that tzaddikim, telling them they don't have to improve, that they're all perfect, they're all wonderful, making them feel good inside, making them feel like Care Bears, opens wallets. Makes donations much larger. Builds buildings, even though they're conservative and reform shuls. So, on those, they say, when you're not allowed to teach Torah for money, that's what it's referring to. It's not referring to that you're not allowed to collect tzedakah. If you're a rabbi, it's teaching Torah, and you're not spending any time working in the regular world, you're allowed to collect tzedakah. There's no problem. You're Talmid Chacham, you're allowed to live on tzedakah. People will give you tzedakah, no problem. But when you become a kofel, when you change the Torah and you make it sound like one of these fairy tale stories, just because that's what opens wallets, then, my friend, on you they say Ahu. On those such people, they call them Ahu. Ahu is the worst possible curse there is in the Torah. Source, Parashat Bechukotai or Parashat Kitavo. Whichever one you want to pick. One is worse than the other. Pick one.